Born in a family where love was a way of life, kindness was practiced, and knowing was welcome. So after an amazing journey full of twists and turns, she was led to Cassadaga and to become an SCSCMA certified medium and spiritual healer. Please welcome my fellow Yinzer up to the platform, Darlene McCormick.
Wow. I feel the love. It's all around us. Don't ever forget it. And I just have to say, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And here we are, April 26th in Colby Memorial Temple, on the same path for just this moment in time. In this, what I feel is my safe place. None of us are broken. None of us are alone. And I was all over the place this week, as usual. And I have to thank Jamie for the universe. It just works. Jamie, and she works with Reverend Darrell, and the songs that she picked are just supportive of what I was feeling needed to be said this week, because I'm going to talk about faith and self-faith. However, before I get to that part, I had this moment this week. The Emerald Tablet. Is anybody familiar with the Emerald Tablet? It's a legendary artifact associated with the Greek philosopher Hermes. I practiced this a few days. Trismegistus. Trismegistus. The inscription is cited as reading, "As above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul." And I've always been fascinated by those words, and I thought, sometimes I think, well, what the heck does that mean? And I just researched the heck out of it. This has been regarded for thousands of years as not just a relic of ancient philosophy, and it cites the unity of science, mysticism. Mysticism, it's what you really can't prove as a truth, and philosophy. Spirit and matter are the same. Energy and matter are interchangeable. The inner world affects your external reality. Remember, when you bravely step back into the world of people, you bring your God part with you, and it is called your soul. And each time I speak here, by the way, I am driven to expand on past lectures. And these ancient thoughts speak to the idea that change begins from within. Have the courage to accept change. Your external experiences, relationships, environment, and success mirror your inner mindset. Positive intentional thoughts create a positive external expression, while anger or fear attracts similar negativity. Anger and fear are primal emotions, and they're very strong, and they can be triggered sometimes at just an awkward moment that you perceive as being an attack. Your external experiences, relationships, environment, and successes mirror your inner mindset. Positive intentional thoughts create a positive external expression, while anger or fear attracts all of that negativity. It just needed to be said again. So to improve change or heal your life, you must look within rather than focusing solely on tongue tripping over the teeth, over changing your external circumstances. Let your inner self, your soul, speak to you. So within, as without, implies that the universe, also known as spirit, infinite intelligence, God, is reflected in the individual. All things are interconnected. I ran across a quote attributed to Jesus: "The kingdom of heaven is in you." We have talked about this before. Each of us are children of God, spirit, infinite intelligence. Again, what do we, we're human. We have to label everything. We don't really think it makes sense unless we've placed a label on it. And sometimes that label does not serve you well. And as you're going down your path, sometimes that label starts to shift and you actually see and feel that energy instead of just hearing a label. So today I challenge you to feel that inner part of you, your most important part, your soul. A concept that relates to this is self-correction and power. You know, in research there's going to be some really dry stuff. This is the dry stuff, folks. We'll get to the good stuff. This emphasizes that it is imperative to take responsibility for one's feelings and personal reality so you may move from a passive victim to become an active creator. We're saying again as well, take responsibility for your feelings, your personal, your reality, your stuff. Don't remain a passive victim. Embrace the change and become an active creator of your life. The first song that we had, Build Your Life. Today's date, April 26, 2026, this is a hard word, numerologically. I said it. It distills down to a 22. Now that's a master number. It's a master builder number. Timing is perfect, representing the ability to turn a grand, idealistic vision of your own into reality through practical action. Today is a day for self-correction and power. Embrace it. And the date, coincidentally, no coincidence, coincides with the topic. As the universe, so the soul. It does come together in a significant way. At the beginning of the week, as always, I say, at every time, oh God, I'm really overwhelmed. You know, I looked at research going back 8,000 years. And I'm thinking, I have 15, 20 minutes. What am I going to do with research of 8,000 years that's going to make sense to anyone at the end of the day? And the ancient Greek philosophy we've been talking about is based on information that was at that time available from Atlantis. Faith in what you can't see, I think sometimes it's really important. You know, the research on all of that can take an entire lifetime. And I didn't want to spend the entire lifetime on that because Spirit, the universe, finally stepped in as I was going down the rabbit hole of way too much information. And I heard, it's time for you to step within. And I did. What we've been talking about, So Above, So Below, the whole little series, it's really natural law, folks. You hear us speak of that often here. We have classes on natural law, well done by several of our people in the community. To me, it's mankind's gift from God, from the universe. Anyway, I was guided to segue from natural law in all its forms and to turn to the topic of faith. Faith is generally considered distinct from natural law. Natural law refers to universal moral principles discoverable by human reason. That's a mouthful. Whereas faith involves belief in truths revealed that are beyond reason. Just think about that for a second. I see faith as a gift of grace that perfects and fulfills natural laws. It expands your soul. So let's drill down to what is faith. It's a necessity in my life, I believe. Now, Wikipedia, here's dry as dust stuff, states that faith is generally defined as a complete trust, confidence, or firm belief in a person, idea, or thing, often without requiring concrete proof. It implies a conviction in the truth of reliability of something unseen and unproven. While commonly associated with religious devotion, faith is also a secular or worldly concept, and it applies to daily life, such as trusting a friend or having confidence in a future outcome. Merriam-Webster, I looked at 3 of them because this was kind of getting to me. Merriam-Webster goes further with their perceived aspects in general usage. Trust and confidence. Relying on the reliability of another, such as believing in someone's integrity or ability. Next, belief without evidence. Holding a firm conviction in a truth that is not immediately evident or proven, such as believing in a positive future outcome, despite current difficult circumstances, despite your current difficult circumstances. And loyalty and allegiance, dedication to a duty, promise, or person, expressed through continued support or commitment. It's loyalty. Religious belief system. People think faith is all wrapped up, and it's not. It's much more than that. Adherence, the religious belief system is adherence to the doctrines, dogmas, or teachings of a specific religion. There's a similar list that comes from the Stanford Encyclopedia with, to me, a most important addition: self-faith, believing in oneself. Believing in one's own ability. Believe that you are not broken, alone, stupid. None of that, none of that. I find it odd that only 1 out of 3 reference materials consulted find it important, because to me, it's the big kahuna. It's what keeps me going day after day. When I listen too much to others, when I listen too much to the self-speak, it's self-faith. That's the one to this day that I also struggle with. On occasion, I'd like to say those occasions are becoming a little bit less. I will say wallowing in self-pity has become a little bit less since my perception is I'm evolving just a little bit. And also, I'm a human. I am so human. We are all so human, and that is as it should be, because that's our current plane of existence. The here and now, this is where we are. Self-faith is the foundational trust in our own capabilities, worth, the inner voice that allows me to navigate life's challenges, make decisions, and live authentically. We've talked of this in a few talks back. Live authentically. It's the shift from external validation to that inner conviction that I mentioned before. So we are all on the journey, and yours today led you here. I'm happy about that. I love it when the universe works well. I love it when the music, unbeknownst, I didn't ask for any music, but it just coincides with the speaker. We see that here week after week after week. We're all on the same path, and the universe provides. Now, how do we develop our intuition? Your intuition, your own self, your inner self, while navigating this crazy human journey? How do you develop your intuition? I can only talk about works for me. I always have a Darlene story, Darleneisms. When I first found Cassadaga years ago, well, more years ago than I thought possible, I just had a birthday. I was still, thank you very much. I was still in my eat, work, sleep days. Those of us that are retired, we know how that was. You know, your kids, the whole thing. We've all been there. Busy, busy, busy. My daughter was leaving for college. Some of you know, when your kids that you you kind of devote yourself to, and you submerge your life into their life, and now they're leaving. What an adjustment. Just a big adjustment. I was feeling a little bit low. However, I had the time to start taking classes, and I did. As most of you know, there are many opportunities to explore on the path that we're choosing, that I had chosen. Natural law drew me in. The exploration of my inner self began. Mediumship and healing classes are frequently offered, and I took many classes and learned from and with many of you. From and with. It's been a joy. In earlier lectures, we spoke of processing the inner traumas of life that we hold on to in order to free up your soul to receive new ideas and ways to deal with everyday occurrences. How to keep the molehill from becoming a mountain. I lived on the mountaintop more times than I want to ever acknowledge, and my processing time it's been a little lengthy. How to not allow myself to be triggered by an event that may be just similar from one that was in my past. That is not what I want to address really here, and yet I will be building on those prior talks. After some time had passed, I decided to join the student program and to obtain certification in healing and mediumship. More time passed, and with the support of the camp membership, the education certification committees, and my certifying evaluator, who was the Reverend Claire Van Cott. And fortunately, I had the support of my family. Sometimes you don't. This is a different path. Sometimes you just feel a little bit alone because you haven't found your inner self yet. There's that lead time between where you think you know, and then you start to quit thinking here, and you start accepting for what's coming from your soul. I became certified. I had arrived, as it were. And then came that big, what now? So what now? Took a few years, folks, to get to arrival. We have some great students here today. And let me simply say that it is a wonderful thing, and yet I found it scary. You may not. Darlene's story is just hers. Everybody has their story. Everybody has their way with dealing with the triggers. Everybody has their own way of dealing with the traumas. The thing is to look at it. Hold the ugly up to the light. There'll be little seeds of joy as you turn it around a little bit, and you will feel lighter. If you do, as a student, you become certified, feel a little shaken in your self-faith, talk to me. If you have any issue during this transition, doors always open. Because for now, I was going to be reading for people outside of a classroom or the structured environment of the Wednesday message service. So I found a reading room and I began. I wrote my name on the whiteboard in the Welcome Center of the Andrew Jackson Building. Actually, I was so crazy, I had somebody else write my name on it because my writing is absolutely awful. I have this little child that lives inside me. She's like 9 years old. Yeah, I actually had somebody write it up. I was so proud. It was going great, and I was building confidence in the foundation that this community provided for me. Then one fine day, I had a client that I didn't resonate with. It just wasn't happening. I felt I was a failure. And you know, we had covered this in classes many, many times. In fact, I had had that happen in a class. So I followed procedure, explaining to the client that this can happen, certainly not a reflection on them in any way. I gave them what I had. And of course, there was no charge, and I directed them to someone who I thought may be a better fit. And I sat quietly after they left, and self-doubt wiggled its way into my very human self. I felt so weak. Why did it happen? Will it happen again? Well, it's going to happen again. It may happen again. I need to take more classes. I'm not good enough. I'm stupid. Self-talk, it's an awful thing. All that self-talk, that can steal your soul's joy. Don't let it. I wallowed for a good half hour, and it wasn't pretty. Thank God I turned inside and heard my soul, stop it. Get out of this room, Darlene Mary. And as I left, there was Maida Jones, one of our people here in camp. She reads on Stevens Street. She was right across the street packing up for the day, and I just went over. I needed to talk. And I explained what had happened, and she shored me up. It happens to all of us at one time or another. Talk to your guides and God. Keep your relationship open with Spirit and intact with your soul. Put your trust and faith in God and believe in yourself. Or words to that effect, I'm paraphrasing. It's been a long time ago. I remind Maida of that every time I see her, and I thank her each time. So I did just that. God's love, as exhibited by the gift of free will and choice, put me right back on the path. And I chose to learn and move forward. And I continued to learn and grow. I had the courage to reach out for help from a member of my community, and I felt the warmth of that response around me. It's not easy for many of us, too many of us, to reach out for help. It is not a failure on your part to reach out for help. It is an act of courage to do so. It is an act of courage to look at someone, and it is also that you give a gift to the person when you ask for their help. Open your minds. Give some gifts. You don't have to always struggle. So quite a few years have passed since that first time, and I thank God for each of them, each and every moment of them. You are not alone. You are not broken. We are not alone. Look around you here today. Look at these people on all sides of you on this path with you. Hear it again, please. One more time. I'm a repeater. You are not alone. When you need community, find one. When you feel the need to retreat and process, do so. Trust yourself. Watch yourself speak, as sometimes we are so mean to ourselves, and as we all know, others will do that for you. Others around you will be happy to be mean to you. You even know who they are. As I said that, someone said, oh, yeah, well, that's my sister. Oh, my mother used to get me. Oh, I'm not going to be friends with that person anymore. And by the way, it's okay to stay away from the mean ones. It will help your soul. Step aside from energies that do not serve you for your highest and best. And here's a good one that I still haven't learned. No can be a sentence. Listen with your heart. I hope each one of you takes away something from this time we had together, and I know you will. Finally honor yourself and really know that you are valuable just the way you are. Thank you.